Dad, from a man's view, is a sister who has been sexually attacked a hard truth for a man to bear, for an interested man to bear, for her in marriage, for him to have in marriage?
Young men, I want you to notice something, that you are fundamentally a redeemer. And I wouldn't be skeptical of you because you are born in the age of selfishness. A selfish attitude towards life will tell you what consists of some of the concerns that we are receiving here. That you come when you are perfect. In fact, I'm not going to fight battles for you because apparently I'm supposed to marry a free captive. So that you come, I'm fighting your battles. We don't want baggages. And I will be honest at it because as well, myself, when I heard that a certain man of God, prayed and said, Lord, let me marry someone that has issues. Don't give me someone that doesn't have issues. Give me someone that has issues so that I help them overcome what they're in. I said, this is new. This sounds like Pluto. Because where we are living now, work on yourself, I work on myself. We meet two perfect people. And we also do an MOU, a memorandum of understanding, so that you don't cross my path. You know, the way they were saying that Rafa is a red line. So these are my red lines. These are your red lines. Nobody is offending each other. That was overwhelming for me to hear, as somebody that also understands this truth. That as a man, you're supposed to be a city of refuge for a woman. You are a redeemer. Who are you? You are a kinsman, redeemer. To transfer Ruth from a Moabite space into a space where she is reckoned in the genealogy of Jesus. If I marry Ruth, she is no longer the Moabitish damsel that came with Naomi. The Moabitish damsel that came with Naomi. She's now a woman in Israel. All right? David can talk about her as a great-great-grandmother. Please, you have to understand that would be a fair outlook at this thing. Because the male argument might not hold in the portals of your mind. So let's talk about the argument of Christ and his church. Because the way you're looking at that girl is the way Christ is looking at you. By the time Christ was coming to you, you are thoroughly messed up, right? You have a sexual history. And just because you are not a woman doesn't mean that it is not a sexual history. Just because you are not a woman does not mean that it is not a sexual history. Just because you are not a woman does not mean that you are a virgin yourself. You ain't a virgin, whether you are a man or a woman. Jesus received you and he called you accepted in the beloved. And he told you that even before you went to sin, had already predestined you to walk before me in love. He said, holy and blameless before me in love. That's the kind of God we are talking about. Can we talk, folks? So is it that if I am a woman and I'm caught up in sin, I'm disadvantaged just because I am a woman? Sounds like the issue of the woman caught in adultery. Jesus couldn't condemn the woman because the law was already broken. That law, read it in the book of Exodus. Both were supposed to be stoned. It is the woman that is being stoned. And in this generation, it is always the woman that is being stoned. I can't marry somebody that is not a virgin, and you ain't a virgin. All right? You are forgiven, but you're not willing to forgive, to let go. So, these are some of the generational strongholds that we are dealing with as a generation, if we are talking about men. men want to stone the woman. You know why? Because the Pharisees that brought the woman caught in adultery to judgment were men. So they were also living in sin. They also knew the things they were doing. But the woman is now being used to prove a point, right? And to be the object of societal sanctification. As though in her sin, she was alone. What if you realize that it is actually a relative that abused the woman? Say, in a random, very unlikely scenario, it's somebody that is close to you that did that, whom you love, but you're unwilling to accept the person that they abused, yet they are in the same space. They're in the same space, right? Please appreciate that you are called to be a redeemer. God did not anoint you to come and have an amazing sex life thereafter, right? They lived in, what was the phrase? The one we used to finish with in the composition, when two people got married and then the rest of their lives was amazing. What was the phrase? Happily ever after. Sexually fulfilled ever after. God looks at you as a redeemer. So the question is, God, give me grace for what I'm supposed to redeem. Young man, give me grace for what I'm supposed to redeem. All right. I remember I was in the omnibus going home. Omnibus is a math 3 for those that might be new to this jargon. So I am there on a route home, and God begins to speak to me about you, honey. God told me that the person you're going to marry is coming from a very contentious family background. He told me, but I will settle it. So don't retreat, I will settle it. So when I met my wife, the story she was telling me about her family. And then, we were not quoting in the dispensation of Gen Z. We were quoting back then when it was a discipler and a disciple. Nowadays, I see quoting, people are swinging their hands like this, walking in the street. Those days, it was a discipler and a disciple. Call me disciple, Marita. The disciple, the disciple is called, and the discipler begins to talk to the disciple. So it is the Lord that strengthened my heart, that He was going to deliver you from your family battles and backgrounds. That is the grace I needed. But I wondered why the Lord was telling me that, because where I was coming from, my own family, you've met my family. It's not like it's rosy. Are you seeing now I need to be strengthened to marry somebody that is good and fine, but is coming from a very embattled background, but my own family is equally in chaos? Are you seeing the selfishness? If I was to say that I was refusing to take her for that reason, that would be reckoned as selfish, because that's where I was coming from. Now, please, if your trouble is X, you'll have grace for X. If you don't have grace for it, leave her. God has a husband for her. If you don't have grace to marry a woman that has a sexual past, leave her. God will give her a husband that has that grace. If you feel you don't have it, and the Lord has not spoken, leave her. You'll be surprised. She'll be married by Prince Charming, who will understand that men are here not to optimize their sexuality, but to redeem women. All right? Then, secondly, I need to talk to my girls in this auditorium and tell you there's reasons to why the law is a bit stiffer on your end, because your stakes are a bit higher. All right? This is why we encourage you to keep your body, to keep yourself. Because a man can be here and he has 3 children somewhere. And we will not even know until the Lord reveals it. And he'll be around here, mesmerizing the damsels that are here. But there are 3 children that he has left in the village, and nobody is even aware. But you can't leave your children in the village and come here. You can't give birth to 3 children, and it's not even physically observable that you have been through childbirth. That is why you must learn the art of keeping yourself, right, to a 3rd degree, contrasted to a man, because the stakes on your end are bigger. If you have a baby, it will take more time and more prayer to get married, though you will, of course, get married. The Lord will settle you, but it will be a tall order, or at least compared to a gentleman in the same mess. So the law must be very ingrained in you, because if you abuse it or miss out on it, the stakes on your end are triple to what a man will go through. Yeah.